Thank you, John Rustin and County Mueller. Our next speakers are twin brothers. You don't ever know whether it's double trouble or a double blessing. David and Jason Benham, the former professional baseball players, best-selling authors and speakers, nationally acclaimed entrepreneurs. Their accomplishments have been recognized by dozens of publications, including Inc. magazine, Wall Street Journal, Business Leader Media, Franchise 500. Hey folks, these guys know about business and what makes it work. And their success earned them a reality show with the HGTV network set to air in the fall of 2014. Yet the show was abruptly canceled because of their firm commitment to living and working according to the principles of their faith. So they are most qualified to talk to us today. They've appeared on CNN, Fox News, ABC News Nightline, Good Morning America, the list goes on. They're here to tell you their story today, as well as to support our governors, state lawmakers, and the law that was passed. Ladies and gentlemen, the Benham brothers.
Well, you can clearly see who the more dignified twin is here. Hey, listen, I represent all the Gen Xers and Millennials who don't need a position or a suit to stand up for what is right. Our governor and our General Assembly did their job. They did what was right. And now it's time for all of us, we the people, to do what's right every single day in our own lives. We have to be a voice. We absolutely have to be a voice. And so here Jason and I are standing. We thank God for the United States of America. We thank God for the freedom that we have in this country. And if we're not willing to stand now, 20 years from now, my kids aren't going to be able to stand. They're going to go to jail. So we have to take a stand. The only thing necessary for evil to prevail is for good men and women to do nothing. I can remember when the folks at HGTV called us and said, guys, there's all these activist groups that are coming after you and your brother. But you know what? We told them that's not really you. It's just a narrative that's been created. See, HGTV knows that. They know that it's just a narrative that's created. When you stand up for life, when you stand up for marriage, when you say that God's blessings come within God's boundaries, and when God's boundaries are removed, the blessings are replaced with burdens. And when you say things like that, the narrative's going to come out at you. You know, a headline last week just ran. It had a picture of me and Jason that said, "Twin freaks." And then under it said, "Like a recurring case of genital herpes, the Benham brothers are back again." Well, I got news for you. I don't know what a recurring case of genital herpes is, because I live within God's boundaries. Listen, what motivates us is not what the narrative is. Oh, it's hate. It's not hate, it's love. It's because we want all people to flourish. Because we are all created in God's image with a special, unique purpose. And if you don't believe that, it does not mean you are not valued. God loves you and values every single person. And don't interrupt me yet, Jason. I can feel him. He's pushing in. You guys are about to see it get on. It's why HGTV paid us so much money. You're about to see it. It would have been great if we could have collected on that. Yeah, that's the problem. But hey, you know what? Were we fussing and crying? Were we complaining? No, we weren't. We said it's a free country. If HGTV wants to fire us, they got the right to fire us. But we want you to know there's an agenda that's out to bully Americans that want to stand up for freedom. And we have no intentions of letting that agenda come after us like a Goliath. You know what? David had his 5 smooth stones, and I don't care how much you smear me. We're going to stand. Yeah. I got one thing to say. Hurry up. So we stand here today not just as entrepreneurs, not just as Christians, but as family men. I got 5 kids. He's only got 4. I got 5 kids. And during this whole thing with the Charlotte bathroom ordinance, we were there, and I brought my family there, and they were listening to all of this. And my daughter was like, Dad, why do they want to do things like this? I said, let me explain some things to you. In America, we have traffic, we have streets, we have road signs, we have stoplights. Red means stop, green means go. Now, all the people driving in the cars can believe anything they want. I mean, you can be an atheist, you can be a Buddhist, a Christian, a Hindu, it doesn't matter. But as soon as you start saying red means go in my world, and green means stop in my world, then danger is coming to traffic. So we have rules, common sense, decency, and privacy. These rules are in place so that we can be safe. This is not forced belief. This is common sense. And so I say thank you, Governor McCrory. Thank you, General Assembly, for keeping us safe. You can top that.
Common sense is not so common when the thread of under God, that binding thread of being under God, has been removed. And North Carolina, this is why it is an awesome time to be a North Carolinian, because North Carolina is showing the nation what operating under God looks like. Right here. We're doing it. We're doing this. And we thank God for our governor and our legislative body. We thank God for our lieutenant governor, who are standing strong and showing young kids what it looks like to stand when the whole world is coming against you, yet they are standing strong for what is right, and then allowing the results to be what they may. My heart was broken a few weeks ago when the Tar Heels lost that game. I mean, when Marcus Page hit that double clutch, I thought, God, you are doing something for North Carolina. And yet we lost. We lost. You know what? The Tar Heels lost. But the Tar Heel State is winning with a bill like this. And I want to tell you, you know, for those of you who may not know, with a bill like this, it's going to protect us from some real life situations. And I want to read a couple of them to you in case you haven't heard of these. Kids, listen to this. Green Lake locker room in Seattle. An adult man went into a swim facility. In a locker room, he undressed in front of the young girls who were using it. The staff came in and asked him to leave and offered him the availability of the family changing room. He said no based upon their law. The police showed up and they could do nothing. Listen, those little girls will never forget that. You can't undo that. These little girls have been traumatized for the rest of their lives, and I want to tell you something, that won't happen to my daughter. Not in North Carolina. That's common sense to say no to something like that. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, legislative body. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Dan Forrest. Thank you. Listen to this. Christopher Hambrook in Toronto, convicted child molester and sexual predator, claimed to be a transgender woman named Jessica so he could live in a woman's shelter where he sexually assaulted multiple vulnerable women, including a deaf woman. That will not happen in North Carolina, and if it does, he will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Jason Benham in California wore a wig and women's clothing to go into a Macy's and videotaped women using the bathroom for his own sexual gratification, and they discovered he had hours of video footage. That will not happen in North Carolina, and if it does, he will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. This is our time. David and I travel all over the country speaking on behalf of religious liberty. And everybody is watching North Carolina. Bruce Springsteen can write a song about being born in the USA, but we're here to tell you the USA is watching North Carolina, and we don't need Bruce Springsteen to come here and tell us how to operate our country. I loved how Governor McCrory dope-slapped the governor of New York when he said,
He wants to actually ban travel to North Carolina while he gets on a plane to Cuba. And here PayPal says they don't want to expand into North Carolina. Well, they are in many countries that actually kill homosexuals. They deserve protection, and they'll get it here in North Carolina thanks to HB2. But we have to stand. See, our governor and our elected officials have stood, but now it's time for us to stand. And I want to read you a quote from, I believe, one of the greatest leaders in American history, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Listen to what he said. You may be 38 years old, as I happen to be, and one day some great opportunity stands before you and calls upon you to stand up for some great principle, some great issue, some great cause, and you refuse to do it because you're afraid. You refuse to do it because you want to live longer. You refuse to do it because you're afraid you'll be criticized or you'll lose your popularity or that somebody may stab you or bomb your house, and so you refuse to take a stand. Well, you may go on and live until you are 90, but you are just as dead at 38 as you are at 90. And the cessation of breathing in your life is but the belated announcement of an earlier death of spirit. You died when you refused to stand up for what is right. You died when you refused to stand up for what is truth, when you refused to stand for justice. It is worth our stand to say men cannot go into women's restrooms. It is worth our stand to say businesses can conduct themselves according to their deeply held beliefs. It is worth a stand to support a governor and a General Assembly that is saying to America, we have freedom in North Carolina.